in Origins and Evolutions, you guys really get into everything of your career. I'm just curious if there's anything left on the cutting room floor or if there was anything you hesitated to include.
Yeah, there is some stuff that has been left on the cutting room floor. Obviously, when you're looking for distribution and whatnot, the standard 90-minute format is typically what they're looking for. But the original fan cut was about 4 hours long. And we had to sort of whittle it down to the 90-minute condensed version. And that's really difficult to do, obviously, for a 20-year career. But there is a 3-hour fan cut that will be available just digitally for the Indiegogo backers that contributed to the campaign, who I guess got the DVD perk. So they'll be receiving the actual copy and then this special 3-hour version, which I don't know if it'll end up leaking on the internet. Sometimes that happens, but maybe we'll be able to have it out there at some point. And as far as hesitation goes, I don't know if there was anything.
I don't think so. No, I think we were pretty open about everything. We wanted everybody to be able to tell their version of the story. And that was very important. So whatever anybody, it was obviously, we trusted Rob, the director, to, pick and choose everybody's best lines. But yeah, it was, we wanted everybody to be able to tell their story.
You guys are very down to earth and humble. And so I was wondering if it was difficult to kind of own up to your influence, and especially influence on women and as feminists. I don't feel that was addressed too much. I think there was maybe one journalist kind of who mentioned the impact you guys have had.
You know what? It was, it's been, I feel like it's been very difficult because we're so more like Morgan and I are from such a small town, well, not super small, but we're from London, Ontario, Canada. We don't, that's, never, and have we really ever, we never set out to do anything, like for the women's movement. At the time, we were so young, we didn't know the impact that we had. So we were just a bunch of like 15, 14, 16-year-old girls. So that we just didn't realize. But I guess, yeah, like looking at it now, as like a 30-something-year-old woman, I get it now. Like, it's crazy. I can't believe that, the impact that we've had.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know, like trying to remain humble and all of that, I think as well, like being able to look at 20 years retrospectively certainly puts things into perspective a little bit more. But it's still really difficult to admit to myself or to say like, yes, what we did really mattered and whatnot. But as the documentary has sort of, come to fruition, and doing a lot of this type of thing, people are now coming out and saying like, hey, when I was in high school, you changed my life. You helped to influence me as an artist. And a lot of them are women. You helped me get through a difficult time. And I think to me, that's what makes this such an important project. And it's just a really cool feeling to be able to say that you've had that kind of impact. It's still hard to like, it'd be like, yeah, man, like, yeah, we're great.
I don't like, yeah. I just play drums.
Yeah. I don't know. We're just,
it's true, though,
trying to be humble.
Don't sell yourself short. All right. Well, obviously one of the questions you always got was, what's it like to be an all-female band? And then also, of course, the comment, you play well for girls.
Yes.
So do you remember the first time you heard those kind of comments? Did it surprise you? And what did your response? And then what did your response go into as you learned to?
Like the what's it like to be in a girl band question? It's just I never understood how to answer that question because I wouldn't know any other way. Like I don't know what it's like to be a boy in a band, or I don't know what it's like to be, a cat in a band. Like, it's just, like, to me, it's just, like, I am what I am, and, but, and with asking that question, like, what are you trying to get at? Like, right? Like, what are you trying to get at? Like, what do you really want to know? Why can't you just ask something? Like,
yeah, what is it exactly? What answer is it that you're looking for? Like, are you asking that question because it's supposed to be so wildly different, or you want us to say something that's just going to allow you to position it in such a way that, oh, women are not meant for the road, or something like that? Like, is it meant to be used as a way to sort of project a certain light on women in general? I don't know. It is a really, really strange topic, and
it's a broad
really strange question
too,
yeah.
right? Like, and because like I never really understood what that meant, and to this day I don't, because I don't know any different. So how can I be like, well, when I was a guy in a band, right. That's normally how I'd answer the question. Like, I don't know any different, right? Like, so to me, it's just like such an unnecessary question. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
And did you ever have snarky or downright mean responses to anyone?
Yeah, I'm never nice. I'm never nice. I'm so mean. Like, with wrong questions.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is really lazy as well.
You are correct.
So a lot of times they were learning about Kittie, or they heard of Kittie, et cetera, and then finally they get to sit down and chat with us. And what's the first obvious thing? Oh, we happen to be women. We happen to be, or girls. The girls thing was a little annoying at the time, but it is what it is, right? So a lot of it I thought was really lazy, and a lot of it was just the era of how many women metal bands were really out there trying to do their thing. It's really not a lot. I mean, Kittie is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, broken many, many barriers around us. And I can't wait to see who's going to pick up the torch and continue on with it. But a lot of it is lazy. I mean, it's obvious. Yeah, we're women, but what makes us so different on stage? What, are we kicking more ass than you? Because I really think that's what the problem is.
Yeah, for sure.
We need to get you a rim shot. The thing.
Or like glass piece.
Yeah,
there you go.
Well, yeah, like, I don't know. I just feel like to ask that question, and it just puts you aside from, like, it I guess makes you the other. It's like, and what is the other?
Put.
And like, so that means normalcy is men, and the other is women, right? And like, and what's the point of that?
It's crazy.
Excellent.
Time's
Interesting.
up.
Interestingly. Very well put. Time's up, indeed. Yes. And we will get into that in just a moment. Also in the documentary, of course, you had, lawsuits and issues and players coming in and out. And you worked with mostly men, I think, in as producers and all that. It seemed that there was only one instance where a producer, especially with Trish, I believe, was kind of an ass to her. And I mean, do you think, there isn't too much about the background of that incident. Was that because you were young women that he acted that way? Or would you handle that differently now? What do you think caused that issue?
I don't know. I feel like that situation was it was more personal with Trish, because he certainly didn't treat anyone else that way. And I'm not sure if it was just, he saw maybe something in her, like a weakness or something like that you could pick on. Oftentimes people that, in general, if they're a bully, they seek out people that are easily bullied, right? And Trish was a little younger than us. She was pretty naive, very, very small town girl, and I think had a lot of insecurities that maybe were a bit more noticeable, and so I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think that's really unfortunate that just anyone would feel the need to do that at all, just to maybe bolster their ego or whatever it may have been or was. I'm not really quite sure about that. So,
all right. And just another sort of gender angled question, and it may not end up being that's the reason, but in the documentary you talk about you're starting Oracle and that you guys wanted to be more metal, and then Rob Nation's like, no, I don't think that's the way they should go. Was that what was the result of that? I mean, what was, I guess, the reason for that sort of disconnect and disagreement?
Well, I mean, he was just the owner of the studio, and he was engineer on that record, one of the engineers on the record. So, I mean, and that was his personal opinion. He probably thought maybe we should try and capitalize on the success, the commercial success of Spit. That was a tongue twister. But you know, we wanted to be true to ourselves and create music that we wanted to create, and that's how we have always created. So again, that's just a personal opinion. Obviously, we had the stronger personality. He never voiced that to us until later on, obviously. But we obviously did what we wanted with that record because it was heavy as balls.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we didn't encounter those types of ideas and those types of thoughts along the way in our career, especially early on, you know, meeting with certain industry players and them telling us things like, well, you know, we'll get you an image consultant and a songwriter, and, you know, we'll, like, they could see that we were young women and maybe young and malleable, and that they wanted to sort of capitalize on that instead. And, you know, like Mercedes said, we've always been very focused on making sure that the music is what comes first, and to a point where we consciously even went to a more extreme sound with our second album, because we didn't want it to be, we were sick and tired of the what's it like to be in a female band question, and we were like, you know what, let's go as far away from that stereotype or whatever that the sort of media sort of created for us as possible. You know, young women, there's a lot of talk about, oh, well, they don't deserve what they, you know, have earned, or, you know, or do they really not play their instruments? You know, like we've been faced, we've honestly been faced with that for the entirety of our career. And I just think it's really sad that many people think that behind every successful and artistic woman is a man and not just her own talents. You know what I mean? And that's something that we've been up against this entire time. It's like, there's no way that they were that young and able to write those songs. There's no way that they were able to perform like that. It must have been a producer, or they must have paid for it, or it must have been their dad or whatever. And those are all things that have been legitimate, you know, things that people have said or thought about us. And I think that's really unfortunate.
I can remember when we, like, not recently, I mean, Jesus, like, recent to me is 2007, and that was 11 years ago. But I can remember our old guitar tech, Bungie, somebody coming up to him and asking him, so it's you who's playing all that guitar, right?
Yeah, we got that.
And like all the time.
People would want to come see us on side of stage to see if we had someone behind our amps. It's not a joke.
Make sure you're plugged in. Make sure your wireless is on.
To be like, and some people would be shocked. They're like, I didn't realize you guys played your own instruments. It's like, how could you, what?
I can remember there was a band, The Warriors.
Yeah.
That they were like, oh, are you actually singing those backup vocals, or are they on tape? And I'm like, I am singing along with Morgan. Yes, it's true. Like, oh my God, like, no, I fucking do everything.
Yeah, but this is the reality of you know, especially in extreme music. You know, there's a lot of people that they can't believe it, and it's like, once one little rumor starts, it's like it will continue to follow you. And it's like, literally, we're, you know, at that time, you know, like in our late 20s, early 30s, and people are still, you know,
like, really?
They still think that we're 16 years old, and then somebody is, you know, like, playing guitar for us. It's ridiculous. It's so absurd. And no one would ever accuse, you know, men of doing that. It's just, to me, that's just absurd.
And there are a lot of male bands that actually do play.
I've seen some fake cabinets on stage before.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, what's shocking is, you know, I've spoken to Lita Ford, and in the 70s, late 70s, when the Runaways began, that was always, oh, you can't shred like that. You know, you're not playing like that. Then, you know, 20 years later I wonder, is it still happening in this day and age? It probably is.
Probably.
I guarantee
Like-
it is.
like-
Unfortunately. Hopefully we could stop that from happening.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like,
It's so ridiculous.
How do you stop it from happening?
Well, you talk about Kittie, and you tell the Kittie story, and we talk about females in other bands and tell their stories. It's called awareness. Awareness is education. So that's how you help stop that. Will it ultimately forever stop? I can't say that or guarantee that, because that's up to however anyone wants to handle that. But awareness and education, those are the two critical things to it. If they're not aware, then they're not going to know. And so how can they think different?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to have the dialogue now and the conversation now to educate people so that one day it is not a question that's ever asked. You know, when you can just write an article about a band with a woman singing in it or playing guitar, and you don't have to say female fronted.
Or, sexy. That's another word.
Yeah.
Please don't use that word ever. Like in like fuck.
Yeah. When you don't have to be considered the other again.
Right. That's such a great way of putting it. Well, this leads us, of course, easily into Me Too and Time's Up. What I think is interesting is, of course, started pretty much with the movie industry, but in the music business, from my perspective, I think I've only seen like executives fall, and then the hip hop world, Russell Simmons was a big one. In the rock and roll world of, musicians and tour managers and managers, it hasn't been quite a big roar yet. So I'm just curious, when, I guess, within the band was the first instance of sort of harassment based on your gender that you guys encountered?
You know what? It is so.
Like,
What a loaded
How long did we have?
question.
4 hours? Is that
How long do we have
How
here?
early? How early?
Well, let's start it but before the band.
Yeah.
I mean, of course.
It's funny because honestly, you said that in the first instance that came to me was before we were even a signed band, when we were playing locally at one of 2 like live rock venues in London, Ontario, and we got anonymous death threats from, it turned out to be the girlfriend of some guy that we played, shows with or whatever. And, it was just a lot of slut shaming and name calling, and it escalated to the point where, if you crowd surf at that next show, I'm going to have a knife and I'm going to gut you, and this was 1998, so I was 16 years old, Mercedes was 14. Like, this was a few years before anything even kind of happened with the band on a national level. And it's like, that's what we had been dealing with since literally day one. Like, we stepped out on stage and people, and that's just what happened. It was controversy the moment we stepped on stage. And
I can remember hearing rumors about us, like Morgan threw her tampon out,
Which that was L7,
That was
but, like-
L7, but like it turned. I heard a rumor that we
woman.
sacrificed live animals on like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But like it's crazy, right? Like,
yeah, so it's interesting because that's where it started. Like, it was.
but I can remember like being a really super young kid and like being 15 on our first like big national tour. Like the Slipknot tour that we did. And I can remember kicking journalists off the bus because they asked us, this was the time when like, Britney Spears was, there was the whole Virgin Britney Spears controversy. Like, nobody has any fucking business talking about that anyway. But I remember, a journalist saying, you guys wear, tall boots and dress the way you dress. Does this mean you want sex? And like, I'm 15 and I'm like, are you kidding me? Or we had one of the biggest magazines in Canada, Maclean's magazine. The lady followed us around for a couple days and wrote a very scathing interview or review, or it was a scathing, what's the word?
Article.
Article. Thank you. And she asked us if we were all still virgins. And that's when we kicked her off the bus. And then she wrote that but like, I'm 16 years old. That's none of your business. Like gross. That's gross.
At best, that's gross.
That's
yes.
gross, right? Like, that's like, and I remember the male journalist that asked us about the boots and stuff like that. Like, that's like, you're like, how old? Like 30 something and I'm 15. Like, are you a pedophile? Like, why do you want to know that? Like,
And why is it relevant? What does it matter?
So now, were you able to have the agency to say that to them? I mean, at that age, a lot of girls are too scared to speak up to.
a lot of times, like the McLean's lady, we kicked her off the bus.
Yeah, we were
I
like,
can't remember if
I remember it like we were like, are you kidding me? That's so inappropriate. And we were like,
and
you
from a
need to
woman.
leave.
yeah,
Yeah, and we were like, you need to. I believe the boots guy. We told him to leave too.
yeah.
That was the one thing that we were actually pretty good at, was telling people to fuck off.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we told people to get off the bus. Were you guys all getting it on in there?
Right? Like,
Yeah, you're like, what?
Like-
Absolutely not.
yeah, I can
Get them
remember
off the
actually
bus.
one time a boyfriend of mine at the time was standing outside of the bus, and he was out on tour with us. And,
Yes.
and some guy came up to him and was like, hey, what do you think they're all doing in there? You think they're all like having like naked? You think they all have their tops off and stuff at a slumber party? And like he was just like, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing in there. And it's like, but that's the kind of thing that we've literally dealt with the entire time. And like, you know, sometimes like we can laugh about that, but sometimes it was wildly inappropriate as well. Like the journalists asking ridiculous questions. I can remember a point in time where I wanted to be able to interact with the audience, especially early on. During some songs, you know, I would put my guitar down and I wanted to be able to jump into the crowd and interact, get close to people, have them sing with me. And I had to stop doing that because the first time that I got in, they were trying to take my clothes off. I had people's hands in my pants. I had...
And when you say people, mostly men?
Yes. I couldn't see the source of the hands because there's so many of them. But yes, like people were, you know, grabbing me inappropriately, hands down my pants, you know, trying to kiss me, just like very, very inappropriate stuff. And it's super violating. You know, you're young and you're just trying to put on a great show and, you know, make yourself available to these people in a way that I think is a privilege, right? You know, like to be able to you know, have that kind of interaction, and then they just kind of ruin it, and that it was a bummer. It really sucked. It was not cool at all.
Although I am going to tell one hilarious story about that somebody that got theirs. I believe you were in the band.
Okay.
Do you remember the guy that got on stage and like kind of like punched Morgan in the face?
Yeah, but I stomped
And
on
then
it. Yeah, I
Morgan-
went after him immediately.
Jen hit him with her bass, and
Yeah.
Morgan. There was video of it. I don't think it's on YouTube anymore. I think somebody took it down. Anyway, this guy gets on stage and punches Morgan in the face. Jen like punches him in the head and stuff because what the fuck. And then Morgan grabs her guitar and shoves it up his ass.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
right
like the
up his
headstock.
ass.
I just like right,
And
just
you
like,
could hear the
right in the
guitar
sweet
go,
spot.
like D2.
Wow.
Yeah. So
You're now
like, but that's
playing
the
an
thing.
A
Like,
for
so
asshole.
Jen like told like that guy did like he got
Yeah,
what he deserved.
did. Yeah, he absolutely got what he deserved. I remember it. That's so fucked up. I remember it like it was yesterday because he started low. Like I was watching him and it looked like he was going to go after her. So I had my eyes on him. And then when he went for it, it was like, that's not happening today, brother. That
Did
is
you
not
ever
happening
find
today.
out? I mean, to punch. I mean, to grab your legs in adoration or something is one thing, but to punch you, do you
Yeah.
ever realize? Was he just
Well,
insane?
sometimes they would just get handled out in the parking lot.
yeah. But I'm not sure what his motive was.
Right.
Like why he felt that was like the right thing to do. Maybe he just
I mean,
hated women, or I
we're
don't know.
all human
Why are you
beings
there?
here. We're trying to entertain everyone with a great show, and that's what you get for it, right? I mean,
and you
it's
just
so
fucked it up.
yeah. And then the rest of the show is shot. It's so crazy. It's not how to act, people. Just a little FYI. That's not what to do
it's-
at a show.
It's absurd. But I think we've had a few instances like that where I can say that, like, yeah, like these people, they definitely got what they deserved. Like I can think of another instance where there's like a guy at the front of the stage. I think it might have been in like Germany, somewhere in Europe, and he just like kept like grinding like on
I remember this.
the stage, and he got up onto the stage, and I actually like just like put my foot right on his crotch and just kicked him right back into the crowd. I don't take that shit.
Well,
That's
I bet
right.
I bet
That's
if they knew
right.
they were getting laughed at, they would maybe stop the behavior. You know, humiliation is, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, like here's the thing, like we're performers. You like literally we're up there doing what we do best. Nothing that you could do up there would ever be humiliating to us. Like that is just like we will laugh at you. We will belittle you. We'll say how fucked up you are on the bus afterwards. Like, we don't think it's cool, and we're not afraid. So, anybody that has ever tried that, I think
I
thought
cried.
that maybe that's what it would be.
I laughed so hard I cried actually when Morgan kicked that guy in the dick.
But now, obviously, in the documentary, we see your parents, and they're both and I'm so sorry about your dad. I'm glad you included that. That was really moving
Thank
and
you.
beautiful about his passing. I'm sorry. But your parents obviously are cool, smart, together people who raised their daughters right. But, for the girls who haven't had quite a positive upbringing, they're damaged by incidents like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Have you ever... Do you carry stuff with you to this day from instances like that have happened to you? Or even, I remember once I was pumping gas, so I was 16 or 17. A guy ran by, grabbed my ass, and kept running.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't, I'm not ruined by it, but I'm like, it's still in my head.
I think it's like probably the more like physical, nasty stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody runs into that, and it sucks that I have to say that. Like the fact that I have to say that happens to everybody. I don't like to have to say that.
I mean, did you feel it was, there was a phrase that's going around, let's see if I can remember it, because I felt it, cost of doing business. I felt I'm a rock metal journalist, and if a guy propositions me or grabs me, it's what I have to do to be in this rock and roll world. I felt that way
it's
at one
weird
time.
though, because
That's
it
really sad.
shouldn't be like that. And like granted, like I would say like 99% of the people, especially in the metal community, are pretty okay. A lot of those people are okay, but it's just that 1% that every once in a while you run into, and like maybe you had too much to drink, or but there's no excuses. Like don't put your hand up my skirt. Don't there's stuff like that. Just you should know better, and it doesn't matter what you're doing or how much you had to drink or how much meth you smoked, like I don't know, like whatever. just don't do it. Like your mom should have taught you, and I'm sure your mom did teach you that that's not the way to behave. And just because you're in a fucking band doesn't mean that you can behave like that. You have to get that consent, and I definitely did not consent to that, so fuck that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it is sad to say that I'm pretty sure that regardless of whether, you are in the music industry or, just a regular woman, we've all had that, even walking down the street, to Starbucks, getting catcalled.
Earlier today, I was standing at the corner and a guy with a hard hat was like, I thought it was pretty cool. He was just like, good morning. And it was the morning. So he was right about that. But yeah, I was like...
But that was all he was right about.
But that's all he was right about. I was like...
Yeah, but even
morning,
just little like that, yeah, but like, I don't know, like we all have experienced those things, and I don't know, I think we all probably do have things that we carry with us, but I don't know, like I feel like I've turned a lot of those things just into anger and been able to channel them into things like music, and just being able to talk about it obviously helps. And I know, like you mentioned, like for those that have not maybe had the greatest upbringing or don't have that kind of outlet, how you are able to deal with that. And I don't know, it's difficult.
Honestly,
think.
Talk to somebody. That's the most important thing. Talk to somebody about it. Try and like write about it. Go get a book and write down your feelings. It's, I'm obviously not a fucking therapist, but, there's nothing more that's helped me than that. Writing down your feelings.
A list of those who have wronged you.
Yeah. I also have that list too.
Oh,
there's maybe 3 people on it.
And there's tons of resources on, not to interrupt you, there's tons of resources on the internet as well. That's one great thing. Lots of meetups. You're not alone in whatever happened to you, and please don't let it destroy you. You're better than that. You're bigger than that. And life is greater than that. So don't let that particular challenge or whatever may have happened, bring you down. There's someone around that could help you get back up.
Mm-hmm. And obviously music, especially heavy music, is cathartic to play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm curious, I may be on the wrong track here and you guys can correct me, but lyrically, I was just curious about, you have, Do You Think I'm a Whore? And Daughters Down. I mean, is that something we can talk about in the context of this?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, a lot of the lyrics, especially in the early days, like the first album, titles like Do You Think I'm a Whore? Spit, a lot of those songs were about the kind of treatment that we were getting, because, even while we were not on a national level when those songs were written, we were still being treated in that negative way, arms crossed at the front of the stage, and all that kind of stuff. And songs like "Do You Think I'm a Whore" were about that kind of judgment, judging a book by its cover. And I mean, mind you, a lot of these lyrics were written when I was 16, so they're not the most focused, but I think the emotion and the sentiment was there, that it was just an outlet for me to sort of say, hey, this is the kind of treatment that we're getting, and just because I, might wear a skirt on stage, it doesn't mean that I want anything from you. You shouldn't be judgmental like that. And Daughters Down as well, a similar type of thing. I think that song probably is more about manipulation, I guess, in the music industry, more than anything. Yeah.
And was this inspired by a particular incident, Daughters Down?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Do we wish to share?
I wouldn't say it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that, the music industry, there's a lot of.
Let's see.
It's
would you
difficult.
do this to your own? Breaking, lying to my face. Throw your daughters down, hold your daughters down, seeing beauty turn to waste.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about, I guess, we experienced a lot of power struggle happening in that era of our career. There was a lot happening with the record label, and we felt that maybe there might have actually been some, blacklisting, if there is such a thing. And so I don't know, it just felt, we felt very powerless at that moment in our career. And it was,
you can definitely tell with that record too, because that's from Until the End. You can tell, we were
going through it.
And you even had you had your dad as your manager, and who better to protect you than your own parents? But he still wasn't even able to.
I don't think anybody could have saved us, to be honest with you. Honestly though, it's the music business is a very interesting place, and especially back then, it was very interesting. A lot of those people have probably retired by then, but now rather. But
I mean, so many of the instances that are coming out in the comedy and TV world, it's a woman goes into an office, the door is shut, the man does something completely inappropriate. I mean, did you ever have anything exactly like that?
No, because not me personally, because I had my dad with me until I was 18, and until I turned 18. So he had to be out for the longest period of time. And then after that, we always made sure when we went to do interviews, we always had our tour manager with us or something like that. And we never did anything alone,
right.
Where we would be able to be put in a situation like that. But that shit happens all the time, and I'm sure it does. We were lucky that never happened. I can't think of an instance where anybody pulled their dick out or anything like that.
No. Well, yeah, I think especially to very, very early on, it was a very well-known thing that we were really young, 15 to 17 years old. I can even remember being on Ozzfest, and a lot of the bands, guys completely stayed away from us because it was I can't even be seen fraternizing and having fun with a 16-year-old girl because I'm gonna get I might get in trouble Right. And I mean that's great. I think I commend them. At least they're being okay, cool, I care enough about their reputation and mine to be what, I don't even want to be involved in that. But yeah, I can't think of any instance like that where we've ever been put in that kind of situation. I mean, the situation with our record label and the business aspect of things was good in that respect, but there still seemed to be a lot of kind of manipulation and how we were talking earlier about the image sort of thing, and the idea that, you know, sex sells and like maybe we can, you know, tweak your image a little bit and make you more appealing or things like that, which is, I don't know, it's disturbing and it's kind of weird. So
I just don't feel like that would have ever worked. I feel like if we had allowed that to happen and if Dad had allowed that to happen, like we wouldn't be here right now.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah.
They would not, the band wouldn't be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we used the word mansplaining earlier when men explain things. And we talked about, you know, musicianship. I mean, were there times when people were like, let me show you how to do it?
Oh, all the time. There's one instance in particular that happened on the last full U.S. tour that we did. We were touring with the Agonist and Blackguard, and it was a Kittie headlining tour. And the Agonist had Elisa White Glues, who now is in Arch Enemy singing at the time, and also Justine from Blackguard is the drummer of the band. So it was really cool. They were really stoked about having more women on tour than they've ever had on tour before. But there was one instance where there was, I think, a tech who
This is actually so great. I love this.
who came up to, I think, both you and Justine.
Yeah.
And they were like, the guy was like, watching them, like, you know, take their drums out of the cases, and he came up to them. He was like, "Did you know that these cases, like, they go inside of each other, right? So that you can like pack them away like really nicely and stuff." And they're both like, "Oh wow, thank you so much! Like, this is amazing! I can't believe this! You just saved my life!"
And like to this day, sometimes Justine will text me and be like, "Did you know the cases go into each other?" Like, buddy, I've been doing this when you were jacking off to the fucking Eaton's catalog. Like, come on, man. Or do they have Eaton's here? No, they don't have Eaton's in America. Sorry. Do they have the Bay? No, they don't.
Like Guitar Musician's Friend, Guitar Center thing? Is that what you're, like a music catalog? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Or no?
Like the Sears catalog.
The Sears catalog. The Sears catalog. Yeah, sorry. I said Eaton's. There's no such thing as Eaton. It's the Sears catalog.
Yes.
But like that's the kind of thing. Like I would like I just remember being like, and it was Justine always used to help me pack unpack my drums. Mm-hmm. We'd all get there at the same time, and her and Paul would like help me set up my kit, just you know for fun. And yeah, that guy, he was obviously my boyfriend.
For life.
Yeah. And also I can think of an instance where I think we were in Germany or Austria.
Oh, I know which one this is.
And Tara, our guitar player, someone approached her after the show, and she plays like a really sweet like Gibson Les Paul, like custom like gold top. It's like beautiful guitar. And you know, and she's very talented. She plays it very well. She's a very skilled musician. And this person came up to her after and said, "Is that a girl Gibson?"
Actually, he was Austrian, so it was like, "Is that a girl guitar?"
Yeah, like he asked if it was a girl.
It plays
Gibson.
itself.
Yeah, like is that even a thing? I don't know. It's just but absurd stuff like that, really. And the amount of times that literally after a show, someone just comes up to you and says, you know, you guys really rip for girls, or you play guitar really well for a girl, like, and you're just like pulling your face off in front of them, like what, like is that appropriate? I don't know. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird feeling.
I do want to say this. I would love to see you pull your face off
and throw it at them.
Yeah.
Next
Blow their
video.
next
All
video.
right, I think just one or two more questions before I let you guys go. God, there's so much to talk about and
We can
ask.
keep going.
All right,
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's take some calls.
Yeah.
Right?
Is there anybody on the line? It's just like, hello?
And before we started this, we talked a little bit about Ozzfest, and you brought it up again. What year was that, by the way?
2000.
2000. Okay, so just a few years ago in your
Yeah.
world.
In my mind, that was like yesterday.
Right. And you said there, you know, you might have been the only female musicians on
We were
that
definitely
tour.
the only
Okay.
female musicians.
And was Sharon Osbourne's presence
Yes.
felt? So So what was anything different about that tour because of her influence?
You know, to be honest with you, I felt like she's a great woman. I love that woman. She's wonderful. She's ruthless, and she gets shit done. Like, and she's a wonderful person. Her kids are great too. Ozzy's awesome. But yeah, there wasn't really like a whole lot of, and she was very motherly, I felt like.
Towards you or in general?
Towards us.
Okay.
I kind of felt that, and I think she really appreciated and thought it was kind of cool that my parents were out with us as well. But yeah, like, I feel like, yeah, maybe we got that special opportunity. I don't know.
Yeah, she definitely didn't, because I know earlier we were kind of talking about how you'd said that you'd heard that she didn't like kind of put up with, some like nasty behavior or shenanigans. And I would say that is definitely true to a certain extent from what I saw, because there was, at the beginning of that tour, there was a band, I'll just name names, Crazy Town. They were on the tour. Everybody remembers that band. And
Crazy.
all of these, the Ozzfest was very well put together. All of the itinerary, all the provisions, everything was all covered. It was fantastic.
It's like a well-oiled machine.
Yes, it was superb. And so I guess one night Crazy Town went to their hotel and they got too crazy. And I think there was a really big party and they threw a TV out of the window.
I think they ended up getting arrested.
Yeah, and they did. They got arrested, and Sharon immediately was like, "Nope," threw them off the tour. We don't put up with that kind of behavior. This is a professional tour, and that was that. So she definitely didn't put up with that kind of thing. So, but yeah, like I remember her being super cool about us. Like we were around the same age as her kids, and they were on the tour. So there was a little bit of extra special kind of care. And like I can remember another instance where there was someone who worked for the record label who went to the production office and told them that he was the manager of Kittie and don't listen to anyone else that says that they are. And Sharon was kind of like, well, that sounds kind of weird. And then when my dad went to the office and was like, hey, I'm the Kittie's manager, she was like, well, this is kind of fishy, and she actually told them about it. And so yeah, like just like little things like that, she definitely was kind of protective and helpful. But in that instance, another instance of trying to gain power over Kittie so that they could do what they wanted with them.
Yeah, it's weird.
Don't listen to the parents. There was a lot of. It felt like there was a lot of trying to get the parents separated from us.
That happened.
Really?
I'll be real.
Did you feel that
I'll
like
be
at
real.
record labels? Were they like, if we could, get dad out of the picture, we'll make these girls into what we want? Did that feeling happen?
Like, and I mean, we were never really sure what it was, but there was some inklings that was a motive.
I don't know. With Ozzfest though, I feel like I can remember one instance, and like I don't want to say like who it is, obviously, and you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. But there was a few female tour managers on on that tour. The band that with the only female tour manager that was on the second stage, which we were on. That particular band, we weren't allowed, as per the wife's request, no women were allowed on stage during their performance. You remember that? And I was like, but I want to watch this band, and if I go in the crowd, I'm going to be fucking stuck there for like 3 hours. So I guess I'm not watching this band because your wife can't handle like somebody else from another band. Like, what does that have to do with anything? My vagina has nothing to do with it. Like, gross.
And if you want to get deep about it, other women should be supporting other women out on stage, whether they are coming at it from, I'll just say, a business point of view or a performing point of view. We should all be out there supporting each other. And so, to me, that makes it even worse.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, to me, like, as a 16-year-old girl, like, I was just hurt. I wanted to go watch this band. Yeah. Like, I was like, really? I walked up the stairs to go watch, and they were like, you're not allowed on stage. And I was like, I don't even know these people. I don't even know them. Okay, bye.
If you'd been a 16-year-old guy, you would have been like, here, stand here or in here.
Yeah,
Be a
exactly,
songwriter.
right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Enjoy the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Not cool.
Wow. Okay. I had a million more questions, but I will narrow it down to just a few if
You're
I
just like,
can.
oh my God.
I know.
It's just like
the outrage. Well, I mean, I know you guys haven't been in, record company offices in recent years and all that as much as you were in the beginning. But from my point of view, it doesn't seem like anything's changed. Do you think that Me Too and Time's Up will change any behavior that has been, reprehensible?
Well,
Have you, like I say, I know you may not have seen that, but.
Well, I feel like there's two different things that we're talking about here. There's, the Me Too, that to me, that involves like inappropriate behavior and sexual harassment and, equality. But then on the other hand, when we're talking about the music industry in general, I think it's, like still the idea that like a female fronted band is, you got to dress sexy. And if you don't, you're, it's not going to sell as much, or, that your femininity and, you being a woman is still a commodity. And so there's two different things that we're talking about. I think with Me Too and that sort of thing, it will change things because a lot of people are, we're talking about it. A lot of people are sharing their experiences, and it's making sure that other women feel comfortable sharing their experiences too. And when this dialogue happens, like Jen said before, it's education, and we'll be able to move forward from that. So the other dialogue that needs to happen is on the other side of things, where it's like, women as a commodity, saying like, female fronted, being the other, that type of thing. That's something that I still feel has not changed. And although there is a lot more female representation in metal, to me, I still feel like it's not always the right kind of representation.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you with that 100%. I just, everybody can do whatever they want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're doing what makes you happy and you're being authentic to yourself, that's great. But if you are being untrue to what you feel like you want to do, and somebody else is telling you how to look, how to sound, how to, I feel like that's the wrong way.
Well, yeah, and there's always, like, it still feels like in the industry there's pressure to look a certain way. There's pressure on women that is non-existent with men. You can be gross and fat and ugly and be in a metal band and it doesn't matter. But it's like, but then it's an issue if you're a woman and you're not wearing makeup or you're not wearing lipstick or you're not dressing a certain way. And so I still feel like there's this divide that I still think that we need to cross that chasm,
Yeah, and like
100%.
All the power to you if you want to look the way you want to look. Like, do what you want to do, but again, do it for the right reasons. Do it because you want to. Don't do it because somebody told you to do it. Or, I don't know. Like, there's a fine line. There's a fine line. And, play an instrument.
Yeah. I'm a really big advocate of running your own business. So I try to encourage young bands that do ask me for advice. I'm going to give you a kind of a model for you to follow, and I want you to go out there and do the very best that you can. So I'm looking at it from a different point of view, that I fully believe that a label is not always 100% necessary. I think there's other ways to go about it for you to be able to sustain yourself as a musician, sustain musicians that do play with you, if that's your setup, and to go out there and get your art out into the world. So I do have a different point of view on it, because I'm just kind of like, fuck the record industry. I could do this myself, or I could work with someone and we could power together and work it yourself. And there's a lot of successful examples of that out there. So I think it's like, forget this and forget that. We've kind of gone through that. While I was in the band, one really big thing happened while I was in the band, and it was really Napster, and it was downloads becoming just everywhere. And that's the whole industry really took a hit, and the industry was just not prepared for that. They didn't adapt quick enough. They didn't adapt to different deals that they could have done with bands. But that could be a whole other hour podcast.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to
Yeah.
get into that. But what I do want to get back to is there's so much you can do on your own and be successful with it as long as you have the perseverance for it.
Yeah, you don't need a label. We don't have a label.
Yeah, don't need a label.
White Swan doesn't have a label. Your band doesn't have a label.
Yeah.
Like it's unnecessary now. And you know what? Like, be authentic.
That's the biggest. I couldn't agree with that more. That is the biggest thing. You could smell something fake even watching a simple YouTube video. You're like, no, that's a
Right.
joke. That's a
Right.
joke. I mean, you might you're like, forget about that. But yeah.
And I guess I promised the final question. Of course, the documentary ends as current as it can be. Origins, evolutions. It's, the future of the band is unclear yet. You guys are playing in a room together, jamming to some kind of good stuff. So since the documentary was complete, is there a new update onto what Kittie is doing?
Well, I mean,
You heard it here first.
for a while, it's really just been like the documentary. So it's been really tough to sort of try to focus on anything else. But I will say that when we did the premiere, we played a really awesome show in London. We did a bunch of different lineups, different eras of the band. Jen was there. We rocked it out. It was so awesome. We had the original lineup. We had some of the later lineups, with Tara and Ivy as well. And it was just a really, really cool experience. And I feel like it certainly opened up the excitement and maybe the doors for something like that again. I don't think that the way that all of our lives have sort of gone, that it would lend for like an entire tour or something like that. But I think that it could possibly be in the cards to do another show like that somewhere else. So that's certainly a potential. And as far as like new music, I don't know. I mean, like Mercedes and I have written some stuff. And I know Tara has some ideas too. I don't know. I think it just sort of all depends on where, I guess, this documentary takes us. But
Yeah, I think we just kind of want to see what happens. And I'm sure Morgan's fingers and my mouth guitar and drums will tell us the story when it's the time, right? Like, I mean, like we'll make it happen if it's gonna happen, right?
yeah. And the beauty is that you don't need a label anymore. It's like when we want to maybe do it on our time, and
Yeah.
when that time is right,
think
we
you
can
guys
do it.
are needed, so we'll be waiting. Well, thank you for coming to Loudwire.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks for
much.
having us.